Hi guys, and welcome to the Miss Joseph channel. I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back with the jump off. If you know, you know. Anywho, I am back because I want to show you the things I've been doing with my 3-year-old, and I'm teaching him how to write. This is nerve-wracking and exciting at the same time. So I just want to show you what I'm doing, things I've learned, and my journey. All right, so if you don't know, I have an older child. They're like 13, 14 years apart in age. And when that child experienced preschool, I remember them having a sign-in sheet for them to write their names. And I'm like, really? Yeah, sign-in sheets. Now, granted, it's just to see what the child knew coming in through the beginning of the school year and to compare when they're left. But I just kind of felt like, wow, that's something like more for me. I thought it was like for a 4 or 5-year-old, not necessarily a 3-year-old. Now, so I always had that in the back of my mind, like, okay, when he gets to that age of preschool, that I should be able to help him, that I know to help him with his letter formation. So I began shopping in the fall of 2021, and he wasn't even 2.5 years old yet. But I don't know, there was like a lot of back to school leftover things that I saw. So I was like, let me just like get some things to have. One of the things that I came across at a dollar store was this book. And it's from, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but it's Zaner Bloser or Bloser Teacher's Guide, and on the road to reading and writing and reading, and for pre-kindergarten. So I was like, well, this is a great find. So this book came with a CD-ROM. Now, I don't have a device like a computer that has a drive for a CD. So I believe it had mazes and other things, other resources in there. But the songs I can play on my CD player. And the songs are basically the alphabet. I know there was something about skywriting on there, and also about direction. These are the few things that can come to mind easily. And he has listened to these songs since the fall, and he's memorized them. And so it was a very good intro for him as far as listening about the alphabet on a daily or frequent basis. I'm not saying we do that every day. So I bought that, and that's what I basically did for the time being, because at that age, it wasn't appropriate for me to give him anything to necessarily write with, but we sang a lot about the letters. Now, around the same time, I also went to I found a lot of these books, and these are alphabet workbooks. These are very common. You'll find them in so many places. So there are basically, the child traces the upper and lower, and these workbooks come in different ways, other activities for the child to do. And I bought a few of these, and I just put them to the side. And because in my mind, it was just like something that I was prepping for him to do, get ready for around 3. However, my idea about approaching handwriting has changed since then, and I would like to talk to you about that. So when he was around 2, he goes to daycare. His teacher was like, have him, it's an early 2, have him color more. And I didn't really do that, because I have friends who have their toddlers were a little bit older, and they were like, oh, the kids are just writing on the walls and making a mess. And I don't know, I think my view on coloring wasn't at where it needed to be. I saw it more of like a problem for me, where not realizing this is what the child needs to do. So this is not a picture. I don't have a picture of his first time really holding a crayon and coloring, but the scan is something like this, though. It was not many marks on the piece of paper. As time progressed, he does things like this. This is in the fall. So that's with increased practice. But the practice was at daycare. It wasn't necessarily at the home. I let him color. At the time, I let him color like here and there, just like, oh, you need something to do. If he was bored, I said, here, you can put color in your crayon, in your coloring book, something like this, at like Dollar Tree or Target, and just left it at that. He also had a Melissa and Doug learning pad, and I let him color in that. So now moving forward, his coloring is more often. So as part of the pre-writing is that I have him coloring every day. He colors every day. Okay. It's just something that I have him doing, whether it's with his regular Crayola crayons. I have him using these markers. He also has the fat markers, like a chunkier, wider one, markers. He has also the crayons with the tripod hold. And I just give him different writing utensils to practice and holding the writing utensil. And I think that was what I was missing at the time, not realizing this child needs to practice the formation of holding that type of writing instrument or whatever it is. He also has color pencils. He also has, I'm going to show you this. This is chalk. He uses this on the sidewalk that I have. But there's, in his video for his birthday, I had requested that they get crayons. I did a list, and this is, Crayola does crayons shaped like this, but not this big for the child. This is more for, I would say, for more younger toddlers. But if you want to start there versus the skinny crayons, you can start with crayons that are in this egg shape for your child. So, and it's been a great improvement in what he's done. Depends on the length. If your child just stays there for a few minutes, it's fine. I think that anything that the child can give you is good. You're just looking for a progression over time. So in conjunction to the coloring, I also have him playing with Play-Doh a lot. If not every day, maybe every like 3 or 4 times a week that he plays with Play-Doh. The Play-Doh is awesome because it gives the muscles of the hands like exercises. Like when the child has the Play-Doh in his hand, he has to make a ball with it, roll it. Sometimes I see him squeezing it. So it's a great hand exercise to have the child wake up those muscles and strengthen them. So Play-Doh is definitely something that he uses very often. When I first started giving to him, I was giving it with these. I bought this at a thrift store, and it was like a kit that came with all these utensils. So he also knows his shapes, and he practiced the shapes. He calls this a mushroom, and he says, oh, I have played my stars. And he just basically makes the impressions. This is a cutter. He rolls this and he cuts the Play-Doh with that. Of course, this is a regular rolling pin, and I have him practicing holding scissors with this. This scissor thing is a whole different topic because, but he, I have him practice snipping, and we're still basically learning how to even hold the scissor. That's the point where he's at. But he has mats that I've shown in his preschool haul, and we use those, or I just let him do a free play, and he just does whatever he wants with it. But Play-Doh is definitely where it's at if you want to have pre-writing skills for your child, to help them practice that. Okay, I want to show you this big letter tracing for preschoolers and toddlers book that I got through Amazon. And what I like about this is that everything's already printed out, and I didn't have to go searching for each individual thing. You see it has the shapes, and I think this book was around $5. I think that it's worth it because I don't necessarily have a printer, but it has the upper and lowercase, as you can see. It also goes through A through Z. So I'm just going to go through that with you and show. And then what I also like about it is because it starts to resize the letter print. So he has to work on shrinking the way that he writes. So now it brings to more of like a little appropriate size. The upper and lowercase letters, you also have your numbers. They also in jumbo form. And I'm going to just cut these out and put them in a sheet protector so we can practice over and over. The initial strokes that he took were just basically going across either with a crayon or a magnetic board, stylus, reconnecting the dots. You can also use stickers and piece of paper to do that, and doing downward motions. So he had a lot of practice doing that before we started doing the letters. Right. You can also have the child trace letters in sand or in flour. There's like many things on the market for that, or you can just create your own. Now let's get into the actual writing. So this book that I had showed you earlier, it's pretty old, okay? It's from the copyright is '08. So I said to myself, okay, I can just go online and see if there's anything that, even if it's from the actual company or people are selling things related to this, like other resources, I can buy them. And it turned out to be very expensive, the few things that I did find. And the company itself no longer even has this for pre-K. They actually have, I believe it's for kindergartner level. So I went on their website and I saw that they actually had flipped through just a few pages of what that program looked like, so, or that curriculum looked like. So I just took notes basically. Because it's older and if anything, everything changes, truly does, as new information comes in. So they had revisions. So I just took those revisions based on what I saw on the index page, the table of contents, I should say. So they have a different order of how the letters are presented for the child to write. So I made my adjustments compared to how it was from before, and I changed how I had to present the letters to him. The first three were pretty much the same, but like towards the curved shaped ones, they started to change. And they basically had the kids also learn how to write their name. And I'm so agreeing with that, because even though I'm doing these letters with him, we started our first letter. He definitely has me writing his name. He wants to learn how to write his name. It's the most important thing to him. It's like, okay, I get the letters, but fortunately for me, the first letter that we did is in his name, but still he wants to start from the beginning. So I had to teach him a letter outside of the sequence. So we're doing the letter L and get into it. And the reason why I like this book too, it comes with a little story, a little letter story that they have, like basically a stroke story, basically a formation, or a little story for the child to like listen to about the formation of or action that's needed in order to form the letter. Okay, so each letter or group of letters have a story attached to it, or to them. So the first letter I went over is L, but followed is T and I. And so they all share this stroke story, is what they call it, in which they're forming or talking about the downward motion that it takes to form the letter. So this tiger needs to go down. All right, so each letter has a figure attached to it so the child can learn the sound. So L has ladder, T has tiger, I has insect. This doormat I got through Lakeshore. I like it because it's in full color and it's in laminated, but you can also print your own, create your own. I think I've seen some for free that you can print out as well. But I just definitely recommend like a doormat. So what he does is he forms, the letter with his Play-Doh. We're focusing on learning how to write capital letters, but I let him, if he feels like it, to form the lowercase letter as well. And it's good for like matching and recognizing which letter, which uppercase and lowercase goes together. So this is his doormat. So after we do those couple of things, and then I just have it basically use construction paper. I like the magnetic board because you can just easily erase the image, and then you can reuse it. But I give him paper, give him a marker, crayon, and he could just practice making his strokes. We also practice this letter sounds. I know I mentioned before what the association with letters, but even no matter what it is, I always practice the letter sound, because for me, I don't think it makes sense to just go over the letter and not the sound. I'm doing this in a way that it's going to take us a long time to even get through all 26 letters. So I couple the sounds and the formation together. So that way I know that I cover the sound with him. And the alphabet is not new to him. He's basically was introduced to it through, he used to watch Sesame Street very frequently when he was younger. And on his second birthday, someone gave him a puzzle for his was an alphabet puzzle in which he's been like learning the letters and placing them in order or whatever spot they're supposed to be in. So it's not a brand new introduction to the alphabet. So I do the sounds. I also I got this book through a thrift store, the alphabetic sign for the letter that we're doing. So it's a lot going on, but I break it in days, and that's why it takes me like a week and a half, 2 weeks to do the letter. But let me tell you, before I get into that, my eyes just fell on this. I bought this at Target, and this is like a thing for them to help them form their own letters. Let me just see this. So it's like a little kit, so that way, and manipulatives. It was like $3 in the Target dollar spot. But let me tell you what I really want to say. I know it was encouraging because I don't know where we're practicing the letter L. He did it. He also practiced the letter J, which is like, you know, because I said he wants to learn how to write his name. And he gave me both letters. I was so ecstatic. I was just like, I cannot believe that it actually worked. I mean, I believe it's working, but like when you're doing the teaching and you're just doing it, and it's just like, you feel like you're not necessarily making that improvement. And then when like this, the child gets it. So he made the first letter J and L, and it's also like I showed you his drawings and stuff at daycare, and they were like basically the same, but like he started to do these type of marks, like these straight lines or slant lines. He also did the letter J here. He did his J. He's never did that before. Everything else I was coming through with him were, circles or just a lot of zigzags. So it's working. It's working. And I'm so pleased. And lastly, I still read to him. I read to him as much as I can. At least try to do it on a daily basis. So with the letters, what I try to do is read a book or a story regarding that letter. So this is a book that I got from the thrift store. I got it for $1, and it's like A through Z. And it's the term is alliteration. So basically, like the story has a lot of the beginning sound. The sentences has a lot of the beginning sounds of that letter that it's focusing on. So L is for lobster. L is for lobster. He lives in a lagoon. He likes to learn letters and laugh with a loon. So this is basically what I do with him. He has a story for the letter. And sometimes we read more than what the letter I'm actually focusing on, because the stories are very short. But I just give him that kind of exposure to hearing that letter sound. And also I purchased this pre-reader collection from Bob's Books. And it has, this is the teacher or parent teacher's guide, but what it has is a book. I think it's 2 letters for each book. So it's an A, B, C, D, you get the drift. And then when it gets to S, it's STU, VW book, and XYZ book. All right. So, and after that, it has little stories for the child to reread to the child. And, anyway, it's a good pre-reading set. I have the other collection, but I decided to, and I bought it in one big box over at Costco. But I saw this at Costco, this individual set, and I was like, let me just complete the whole thing. But I hope this is like a good helper as to how to start teaching your young one how to start writing. And I'm also gonna say The child may ask you to focus on their name. I wouldn't necessarily discourage it, even though it may not be in necessarily the sequence in which you want to, because I think that the main thing is the child's interested in just following the lead. Let him speak to me as well too. I think that's something I also learned working with him so closely, is that I don't need to always just talk to him and have him do. We can have this conversation. He says whatever he says, whether it be right or be wrong. I just say, great, and I try to maybe correct. And the correction may or may not happen. It depends on what it is. Like, for instance, like he's learning his name. He knows the first 2 letters. The middle 2, he gets them, he flips them, and he ends the name correctly with the right letter. And I just be like, wow, you got the first 2 letters right. Like, you know, because he's not there, and it's a lot for him to even recall. And the fact that he can remember the first 2, I think that's great. Nonetheless, if you have any questions about this video, anything that you feel as though you need a little bit more explanation, feel free to comment below. Any of your tips of the things that you do with your child, feel free to share them below as well. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're thinking about subscribing, just do it anyway. And share to anybody you think is going to be find this beneficial. All right, guys, until next time, thank you for watching.